morning. Welcome to the Morning Digest on beg your pardon, the Everyday Money Matters on Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. It's time for us to actually give you a digestive look at all that is happening in the world of money, but to you in partnership with our friends at Nairametrics. And today, I'll start off my introductions and bring in to the microphone the money team with Lawretta. Egba joining us. Hello, Lawretta. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you. And also, Olumide Adesina, the finance man, joining me as well. Olumide, can you hear me as well?
Yeah, I can. I do. Good morning. Yeah.
All right. So Lawretta and Olumide are joining us today, and we're going to answer your questions, of course, taking you step by step on the different issues that happen in the world of finance and money. But before we get into it, I just needed to let you know that in case this show is not as comprehensive as you'd love for it to be, there's a better option for you, and that is called the Stock Select newsletter. In it, you get to subscribe, and you'll have the opportunity of broken down month by month analysis of the stock market, what to buy, when to sell, what to hold, and typically it allows you to make the best out of the stock market. So if you want to become a smarter investor and you want more than just what we have in the few minutes we have left, you can subscribe to that by going to ssn.nairametrics.com, and you will be inundated with a lot of life-changing information. Anyway, let's get into the questions today. Send your questions to us on WhatsApp 0809-234-5913, and we will definitely answer them. All right. This one is talking about stocks, but foreign stocks, actually. Question is, why are investors backing off Chinese stocks?
I think I told the meeting now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Sorry.
Okay. This person asking, why are investors backing off Chinese stock? You want to answer that for us?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, we're having an interference here. I don't know. Okay, I think that stopped. Yeah, sorry for that. I think it was from the studio or something. First of all, basically what we are seeing in the Chinese economy is that ever since the popular founder of Alibaba, I'm talking of Jack Ma, issued some stunning concerns about the Chinese government, we've seen a clampdown on many of these private companies, especially the tech companies and the educational sector. And basically what the Chinese government is trying to do is trying to clamp down on their ecosystem. And that has somehow distorted investors, especially from the Western countries. So we're seeing that at record level, Tencent, Baidu, Alibaba has lost billions of dollars. But you see, the truth about it is that China plays a big role in the global economy. And the fact that the market has one of the biggest unicorns and giants in the ecosystem means that investors are also positioning when to buy the dip. But the issue is that the regulatory concern is creating so much distortion, because also the educational sector, especially those in the profit sector that make money from that ecosystem, are also being clamped on. So investors are also shaky on that. But the fact that those sellers were so much, I think it's a time to reconsider some of these positions, because these assets have good fundamentals. So as much as we are seeing a lot of sell-off in that market, we're also seeing some frugal investors coming in to take in some positions. Basically, that's what's happening.
Right. And let's talk about Bitcoin a little bit this morning. The question here from one of our listeners is, what caused the heavy sell-off in Bitcoin yesterday? What seemed like a bull run?
Yeah. the truth is that I wish I could give you a definite answer, but based on market probabilities, with it's three factors. First, the dollar was at all high yesterday. It clamped down on many risky assets, so you saw investors trooping to the safe haven currency. So that was probably one of the reasons. Another sentiment was that El Salvador became the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin. So I think they had technical glitches. And the third reason was that some big investors decided to cash in. But see, the truth is that people need to understand that especially in our metrics, we always advise people not to put in so much funds in risky assets. And that was why that was why we saw a lot of panic. And the panic was so ugly because Bitcoin lost $9,000 in the span of a few hours. But irrationality of men make expensive decisions. So I think that was what exhibited the sell-off. If you really had little exposure, there was no reason to cause alarm because at one point, Bitcoin retracted back to 47,000 after dropping to as low as 43,000. So that's really, in summary, what happened yesterday.
Okay. Before we go back to talk about El Salvador, Lawretta, this person is asking a question that we kind of see frequently here. Is that is this a good time to buy Nigerian banking stocks?
Okay, in my experience, there are different levels of banking stocks, right? So you have the tier one, you have the tier one are typically the NSE 30 stocks. Those are typically the biggest ones, right? And then you have the smaller ones. Now, it's hard to say, yes, it's a good time to buy right now because it will mean we have to generalize all banking stocks. Not all banking stocks are outperforming. However, again, this is why you should definitely read Nairametrics and follow the Stock Select newsletter, because for you to know if a stock is doing well at the time, you have to carry out what we call fundamental analysis. So go in there, look at the price, look at the earnings, look at the P ratio, a bunch of ratios and all of that. But what I would say in terms of the outlook, Nigerian stocks, even particularly the banking stocks, I mean, we've seen a lot of expansion over the last few years with COVID-19 and all of that. Banking stocks are still, Nigerian stocks in general are doing really well. So I'll say there's an opportunity in this space. You just know which ones to invest in. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a little bit more, should I say, specific. That's it?
A little bit more specific, yes. There are some banking stocks that are doing really well, and there are some that are not quite.
Yeah, and just to add up, Adu, banking stocks, Nigerian banking stocks, for example, are known to be the cheapest in Africa. If you look at PE earning, if you look at price earning, that's what we use to gauge the valuation of stocks compared to African counterpart, Nigerian tier one banks like UBA, First Bank, Zenith GT, because they have a valuation of above $500 million. They have one of the cheapest price valuation in Africa. So the fact that if you also consider that the cost of a sachet of pure water is 10 naira, you can really buy some of these bank stocks less than that, then it tells you that I think it's wise for people to start looking at these stocks because see, the upsides are very, very high for them. If you compare the exchange rates we presently have with other in dollar terms, the assets are cheap. And just like Lawretta said, though we have different fundamentals when viewing the stock, but generally tier one banks are my top pick. And so I tell people that see the opportunities for this is limited because one of the reasons, another strong reason why the stocks are very cheap is that foreign interest participation is at record low. So by the time foreigners, once the exchange rate settles, foreign investors are going to rush in. So I think it's time for Nigerians to consider their Nigerian bank stocks.
All right. Very quickly now, let's talk about rising inflation in the US. And this person is asking now that this rising inflation we're seeing in the US, how will this affect us in Nigeria, considering the economic ties both countries have?
I think one of the most direct ways is through importation. So if in the US, everybody, if in the US prices are just higher, and then you are used to importing from the US, you are going to import that
sorry, Lawretta.
at that price. And for example, in the US, it means that the price you now bring it in. Can you hear me?
Okay, you were breaking at some point, but you can continue.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was talking about importing from the US. If Nigeria imports a lot from the US, it means that if the prices are higher, by the time they come here, they would also be higher, and then that will be passed on to us. But beyond taxation, Nigeria has a lot of ties with so many big countries. So yes, a level of it. It's just the extent to which it impacts us that we cannot accurately pinpoint.
Let me add up to what Lawretta said, because of some people might not have listened to her properly. Of course, definitely, it increased the cost of borrowing. Most of our companies and banks borrow in dollar terms. So when you have high inflation, the cost of borrowing in dollar terms goes up. And also, you need to understand that we have a high dollarization presence in the economy. So that inflation kind of trickles down at goods, just like she rightly said. But truth be told, the sides are that inflation on fiat currency are general on the eye, so it's a general problem. But why it's a concern in Nigeria is that on the investment side is that when you see high, you see outflow of funds from emerging markets like Nigeria, because investors will now start seeing the value of that asset. So they start moving their funds away from. So at one point, it has a negative impact on that. But the only way out on all these things is that's why the Apex Bank has been clamping down on investors and stakeholders to try and domesticize the economy, meaning that we need to start reducing our reliance on America. And because oftentimes when America coughs, the whole world sneezes. So I think people need to understand the sentiments behind all these things. Yeah.
All right, when we come back from this short break, we'll take more of these questions coming through. So do not touch the dial.
Hey there, do you want to build wealth and financial stability? Well, investing is what will get you there. Yes, saving is no longer enough. You can now preserve and grow your wealth by choosing an investment plan that suits your needs in the long run. By investing the right way, you can secure your children's education, have a secure retirement plan, and enjoy the ultimate peace of mind. Wondering how you can get started? Standard Chartered Bank has a wide range of investment options, ranging from federal government bonds, treasury bills, and so much more, all accessible from your SC mobile app. Don't have our app? Download from your mobile app store today to access investment opportunities. Start now and secure your family's future. For more information, please send an email to callcenter.nigeria@sc.com or call our call center on 01-270-4611 or toll free on 0800-123-5000. Standard Chartered Bank, here for good.
Welcome back. This is Everyday Money Matters on Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. And I have with me Olumide and Lawretta from Nairametrics helping us to answer some of the questions you have sent in. And Olumide, earlier in the show, you mentioned El Salvador and it's making Bitcoin a legal tender. Is this a feasible move from any country? You'd have to unmute yourself because I'm not sure I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. To be fair, I think we need to understand the negative bias that the International Monetary Fund and many multinational agencies have about crypto assets being legal tender. You see, look at what happened yesterday. The price of Bitcoin losing $9,000 in the span of few hours. That tells you that a currency that is very volatile is not ideal for transaction. Also, you need to understand that Bitcoin has more store of value fundamentals than transactional effectiveness. So what am I saying is that it has limited supply So, for example, large is not suitable for large transactions, and that's why the country in its wisdom has stated that to be used for basically transactions, not beyond certain parameters. So I think for me, the adoption of Bitcoin is just in the country. The country is pretty much a small country, and the fact that it has its dollarization is a record that the US dollar is like a official currency. So they are seeing that as another option. But ideally, beyond that, I don't think it fulfills the full requirements of a currency because, like we said, the volatility, the transactional cost, money should flow. The laws of money is that money should be easily accessible. A lot of El Salvadorans are not even in support of it because they feel that it's just going to be more with the young people and those that are tech savvy. Because see, Bitcoin really strive on technology. If you don't have technology, you can't operate on the Bitcoin because you can't access the blockchain. So I think that's some of the concern. But you can't take away the fact that Bitcoin is one of the first democratized financial assets ever created. So while we are weighing the negativity, but the truth about it is that it's already disrupting the fiat ecosystem.
Yeah, and then I also like to add, from what we got from Salvador News, they are trying to make it compulsory for businesses to adopt, to accept Bitcoin for their goods and services, and that's why we see people, see people protest basically against it in El Salvador, and these are like Olumide said, it's just a small country. They are like 6 or 7 million people. There are people saying they don't understand it in the first place. Some people feel like it's being used by the elites, to get more money and still all of that. Now, I would say have both its upside and its sides. On one hand, this is like many countries, like most countries are still developing, financial inclusion is still a big problem. So more people, we have many people that are not banked and all of that. And so into cryptocurrencies seem like, instead of going through the traditional banking process, it's easier to just bridge for financial inclusion, go to this part. But I think there is something as change. For example, Bitcoin is way too volatile to be illegal, but that's what I think, to be a legal tender for people. I would even prefer the way CBN is doing it here, create your own crypto asset and back it against your fiat currency. Because what happens when everything goes down? Let's say something bad happens with Bitcoin. What happens to the entire country transactions? So I would say it is good but trying to impose it as a legal tender generally would just complicate problems for everybody.
Okay, talking about problems now, Lawretta, there's a question here. This person is asking, with the issues with local investing apps that facilitate foreign transactions, this person is saying, what other ways can I buy foreign equities and other assets?
Travel to the US, stay for a couple of months, register your bank accounts, and buy, basically.
Lawretta, so.
Yeah, but truth be told, if you can't do that, that's a very good option. Lawretta said, if you have residency or you have permits, you can have that option. But if you don't really have, you still have decent options. We have what we call tokenized stocks. These are stocks that are mirrored like real equities. So you buy them on the blockchain, and there are certain crypto exchanges that offer that. Just because of our rules, I can't mention names right now, but we have 2 or 3 that offer that services. Then also, if you have a network, you can go through. You can get indirect exposure in some of our banks that invest in mutual funds. They have this exposure in these stocks. So what you can do is that the advantage is that they have a fund manager capability that you can check his track record, and you can look at certain exposure you want to put in. So we have some banks that offer indirect services like that. Then also, you need to look at the fact that we also have foreign brokers that open the doors for Nigerians. But the catch is that, for example, some of them will ask as high as $50,000, $200,000. So the options are going through direct, indirect exposure through our banks or investment banks, by mutual funds, ETFs, or you go through directly with your funds if you have a high net worth. If you don't have a high net worth, then like Lawretta said, you also look at considering traveling, and when you get there, register there. That's basically how many Nigerians have been doing it. Thank you.
Pack your bags and fly to get a piece of the pie. Anyway, let's take our final question for today, and I'd love to hear Olumide and Lawretta on this one, just to kind of get a bit of a varied opinion. This person is asking, is it how much of my investment portfolio or net worth should I put in cryptocurrency? Lawretta, do you want to go first? Should we do ladies first today?
Yeah, ladies first.
No, I want Olumide to answer first.
Okay. I think, to be honest with you, one of the principles of investments is that your age, you start with your age. So I'm going to do a general rule here, but generally, if you are young, if you are below the age of 30, then I can say your crypto investment portfolio should be, well, 10%. It's not bad. But if you are already your mid, you're already around 40 to getting 50, then I tell you that having less than 5% is a wise decision. Now, the rationality behind such percentages is that you need to understand that as a very high risk, high reward opportunity. Also, you need to get to the point that these assets can go to zero at one point. And when I say zero, I don't really mean zero. I mean almost nil, as bad as it gets. Look at what happened to Bitcoin yesterday. Bitcoin that happens to be the pioneer crypto asset, that happens to be the world's most popular crypto asset, lost $9,000 in a span of a few hours. Imagine you had 50% of your portfolio in that, and that's why a lot of people make irrational decisions. Now, how do successful people invest? So take a look like Elon Musk now. Elon Musk, as we written on our metrics, is worth about $204 billion. But trust me, if you consider his investment in Tesla indirectly, Tesla bought one Bitcoin and his Dogecoin investment and everything based on probabilities and historicals. Elon Musk has less than 1% exposure in the crypto market. So that tells you that a 50-year-old man that happens to be the world's richest man has such little exposure. So it pretty tells you that the world's most successful investors usually reduce their exposure in very risky assets, and they try to allow this asset to ride. Because when you have little exposure, you don't make irrational decisions. So that's my take on having. So you need to always weigh the opportunities of not having so much drawdowns when you're investing in risky assets. So that's my take.
Lawretta?
Yeah, my take is not completely different from what Olumide has said. In the sense that, because everybody's talking about cryptocurrency these days, there is this rush to let me go and quickly make money. I have a friend that just said, okay, I'm cashing out 1 million naira check in a few weeks. I'm just going to go and invest everything in crypto so it can make me money. That's not how it works. It is really risky. Like, it is so risky that you can sleep and wake up and you have nothing. Yeah. Now, but there is still on the rush, and that's the part I would really like to focus on. With more people increasing the amounts, you see people that are investing like 80%, the crypto guys, 80% of their income in crypto and things like that. And you just wonder, does it make sense to secure your future, based on a risky asset? And the answer is no. Typically, the percentage should be as low as 5% to 3% generally. As you grow older, you probably will not even invest in crypto again, so you can have peace of mind. But yeah, the lower, the better. Otherwise, as you said, you can have downturns like instantaneously. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lawretta. Thank you, Olumide, for answering the question and setting perspective. Now, if you listen to us on radio and you'd love to listen to the show again, you can go to youtube.com/NairaMetrics. and you'll watch the video or listen to it again, as the case may be. That's youtube.com/nairametrics. You can get to watch it again. And don't forget the Stock Select newsletter I mentioned to you earlier. It will give you a more comprehensive insight of the Nigerian stock market, help you with investment choices, making you smarter, showing you how to hold, sell, buy, and even holding you by the hand and literally walking you through the minds of investing in the stock market. So you get that by going to ssn.nairametrics.com. You subscribe there and you get a monthly subscription and, should I say, information being fed to you from Nairametrics. Until they come your way next week, Olumide, Lawretta, do have a fabulous day ahead, and see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, bye guys.
Thank
Till next week.
Bye.
Bye.